Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of the Unwitnessed fame, brought to you by Science Integra and MCure, the makers of dihydrofem. I'm your host, Dr. Sunil Jindal. Thanks for the applause. And you know, this show has been planned not only to entertain you, but to inform you about a human being whom we think we know, but we really do not know. Because we just know a part of them, but the other side, we just don't know anything about. You must have heard me a lot of times talking about male fertility, studies, IVF, reproductive medicine, and a lot of times about people whom you know more than me. But this morning I read in the Science National Journal that there is somebody who sees Dr. PC more like God, and that's the way people see him. But you know, Dr. PC or Dr. Puran Chandra Mahapatra needs no introduction. ये ऐसा है जैसे एक चांद को आईना दिखाना. पर सच कहूँ, आज बड़ा खुशकिस्मत हूँ that today we will have Dr. PC Mahapatra with us. And tell us, Dr. PC, most of your patients call you God. Why do they do so?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Jindal. Sunil, my favorite for overestimating me at the outset. But regarding this concept of the God and believer of science and all that, I'm a strong practitioner of science and a strong believer of destiny. And I've seen beyond science, there is something which is not being explained. And that's why the people think me that I'm a God and all that. I don't know where from you've gathered this information and the studies, whether the conclusion and all that. I don't know that. I'm not aware of that studies. But regarding the Vishwas, I told one thing, that the trust or Vishwas, there are three types of Vishwas. One is Vishwas, one is Andhavishwas, and another is Ati Vishwas. And paradoxically, fortunately or unfortunately, my patients have a Vishwas, Andhavishwas and Ati Vishwas of me. And that is my, I'm fortunate as well as unfortunate for that. They overestimate me and put a lot of faith on me. That's really, I'm honored and I'm blessed with that.
I read this beautiful quotation, sir, where they said that trust is a bigger prize than love. Love you can get again, but trust you can get only once.
Absolutely.
And कितनी खूबसूरत बात आप वाकई कहेगा इस टाइम पर. I would like to ask you a question, and the question is that we have heard that during your early days, you personally took an initiative to enroll yourself into an engineering college. Something on this, sir. Did you really want to become an engineer?
Well, I must tell, during my time, way back in 1970s, everybody has an ambition for that. And at that time, the ambition is very limited. The scope of the future is very limited. Either you become a doctor or an engineer or a banker or a bureaucrat in the civil servants, all in educational professors and all that. So out of all these, my parents wanted me to enter into civil service. But personally, I wanted to become a doctor. And at that time, I had a biology and a mathematics, both inclusive in my pre-medical and pre-engineering course. And there was an entrance. If at all I may not be a doctor, I'll be an engineer. That's why without information of my parents, I entered and joined into a regional engineering college, Rourkela, now NIT. I studied there for 3 months. And after I got it in the entrance for medicine, I could be successful and then changed it. And I don't know whether God wanted me or to fulfill my ambition. God is very kind enough to enter into the medical profession so that I'm here. Now the things have changed. The ambitions are more. The spectrum of horizon of the future is much more than what we have at that time in 1970s.
It's a very weird question, but it was coming to me one day. And I was just wondering, because there's so many times I've met you, sir. And this was, if you were not a gynecologist, what would you have been?
Well, I said that I'm a strong believer of destiny. As because I'm a gynecologist till the rest of the life, I will make a profession as far as I could. if I would not have become a gynecologist, I would have entered into a different profession. I think in the rest part of the life after my retirement, I will prefer to devote more into one of my very favorite thing, that is a social professional, I think social activist or social reformer. I cannot be a social reformer. At least I will try to transform some of the social evils and that, and that's still in my mind for that today.
Wow. Oh, I was just wondering that in gynecology, there's so many skills which you have mastered, and you love mastering skills. Is there any skill which is left which you want to master?
Well, Sunil, frankly speaking, I'm a teacher for last 40 years. And teaching is my passion and treatment is my compassion. And believe me, to be very honest, I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. So I'm not a master of everything. I'm very skilled for that. In the initial part, I must admit, and this fact. But if you say that, yes, more important is acquiring a will rather than a skill. And there are many things which is not being read in medical schools. I think that is important now to consider, that acquiring a will is more important and equally important than acquiring a skill for that.
Well, you as a gynecologist have been very busy. Gynecologists as it is don't have time. And along with that, I have also felt you have traveled a lot. Every day you would travel for a conference or to teach people. Have you loved this traveling?
Yeah, I do love the traveling, but most of the time I spend in sleeping in the air or reading books and all that. That's the best time to do that. But I travel not for the sake of traveling and enjoying my life and seeing places. If you ask me, whenever I go to some places like the technical part of giving a lecture or going for a workshop, believe me, I know only the airport and the roads and the lecture hall or the OT, then come back the hotel and then come back in the airport. I cannot see that other things. I don't have any knowledge on that.
Right. Another small thing, since there's so much time which you have spent outside, there must be so many times when you are away from the family, away from children, away from madam. Has there ever been any kind of a conflict because of this?
Well, that's obvious. Any husband and wife and family, there is a conflict. Of course, in a premarital thing, you don't have a conflict. But after marriage, the conflict is more acute and all that. And believe me, in the earlier part, what happens? Absence is more felt. Now the technology has given us that I do practice that even if in outside also, in the morning and evening, I used to connect with the telephone, mobile and all that. And so that this has become easy. But I still remember the version of Swami Vivekananda. What is the difference between connect and connection? I'm not able to have a connection, but connect I could have it, even if I'm away from the family for that. But the conflict is absolutely so. But in my case, there is another way. Whenever I'm here itself also and away from the house, I'm in the hospital, and my wife is also works in the hospital, so that most of the time we meet each other here in the hospital.
There's so many young doctors, I would say, who come to you for mentoring. And there's such areas which they feel. So I'll just share with you another thing. A lot of young people don't want to take gynecology now because they feel they don't want to take surgery. They don't want to take these branches in which you have to give too much of yourself. What is the kind of guidance which you'd like to give to them?
Well, I can see that the era where we were practicing, more importance was given to the hard work. And now is the era of smart work. So a blend between hard work and smart work is essential. There is no shortcut without a hard work. That's absolutely true. So to the youngsters, I can say that you must have a blend between hard work and smart work. And you have a personal life, you have a professional life. You have to balance between this personal and professional life. Life-work balance is important for all of us for that. Even with the busy persons, I think you can do a lot. You say that patients, many people say that you are busy, you don't have a time and all that. Sunil, remember that if anybody has a problem, go to a busy man, he will solve your problem. Don't go to a lazy man, he will delay your problem.
One of my mentors always used to say, a busy man has all the time in the world.
Absolutely, I fully agree.
A busy man has no time in the world. Exactly just like you have said. Beautiful. On this note, we will take a short break. We've had a fantastic discussion with Dr. PC. and we will be back very quickly. किधर भी जाइएगा नहीं, बस हम अभी लौट के वापस आ रहे हैं आपके साथ. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Dr. Sunil Jindal, and you're watching the first episode of the Unwitnessed fame. And I'm in conversation with the Dr. P.C. Mahapatra, and I would like to know from him now a few things about his life. And in our life, there is something which is known as entertainment. And if you ask me, life ultimately in every fashion is entertainment, entertainment, and entertainment. So I'd like to ask this question from you about entertainment. Which is the book that you're reading right now? And if there's any book that you're reading, I would really like to know. And in fact, all of us would like to know.
Well, apart from the gynecological books, I think I have an inclination for more for the spiritual and the motivational books rather than some fiction and novels.
And what about movies? Do you see any movies, or do you see Amazon Prime, Netflix, which the world is watching now?
Netflix, Amazon Prime and all that I have in my house. But the TV, I think my granddaughter of 6 years immediately switches on and all that. I don't have any access to that. And I don't have a liking for that. I have never gone for see any of these Netflix and Amazon.
Are there any movies which you see? Or any movie which you could remember in which you cried or laughed?
The last movie I have seen where I cried and laughed is 3 Idiots. And I remember I went to the hall to see the movie, and in the intermission when there was the lights on, I found that there are many patients of mine who had gone there from every corner. They were sneezing at me and all smiling and pointing and discussing as if some of a stranger animal has entered into the hall. And I feel very embarrassed. And since that time, I have stopped going to the hall for seeing movies.
सर ये ऐसे ही होता है कि आप चाट के ठेले पे कभी खड़े नहीं हुए होंगे. If in your city you stood at a chaat stall, the world would come and ask you, Doctor Sahab, आप भी चाट खाते हैं?
Absolutely, that's true. That has happened to me.
The other question which I would really want to ask you is about food. Human beings live for food. And in a few areas, like in the place where I belong to, if there is no food, people say there is no entertainment. So entertainment is food. Tell us something about food. What is the food you like? What is your go-to food? If you could eat one thing for the rest of your life, what it would be? What is the secret recipe of your family? And above all, do you go out to eat? Something about food, everything which you could tell us about your food.
Well, I'm not crazy about food. I always like to feed others than feeding myself. And believe me, I am reminded of an instance where my mother was serving the food, and I too consumed everything. And at the end, after 1 hour, my mother told that how could you know that the salt is not added to the curry, and you consumed everything for that. So this is the status of me as regards food. So I believe that I enjoy feeding other people than myself for that. And the recipe, which is because I fully admit that the recipe of food, I don't have a craze for a particular recipe, but I love chilled water, not chilled beer.
Well, you could read the rest for me.
Yeah, I think I'll hand over it to you.
But anyway, it's so beautiful. I'd like to know something about your traveling. So entertainment is there, food is there, traveling is there. You travel a lot. If you could fly anywhere for free, where would it be?
Well, flying for entertainment, you mean to say that for entertainment, if I like hill stations most, because I enjoy the nature, I introspect myself there. And one of the close things which I understand myself, I always ask to know where from I have come, what I am doing, and where I will go. And that 3 questions I'm pondering, and that's why there's the best play to think about it silently, where there is no disturbance, and I prefer this hill station more.
Wow, wow. So beautiful. In fact, sir, I'll just share something with you. There is something very spiritual about the forests, the pine trees. वो the खुशबू जो आती है ना उस pine tree में सर, वो ठंडी सी हवा. In fact, if you ask me, three things in this world: happiness, peace, and freedom is what all of us seek. And this is only got by giving. The same is for joy. Anand ji se bolte hain. So beautiful, which you have said. One thing which I would like to ask you, which I think everybody would like to know, is if you had to go on a vacation or a workation or a sabbatical, which is that one place you would go to?
I think I feel that hill station is a very important thing for me, where I can understand the nature and all the three pertinent questions which I asked for years together to find out the answers to that: where from I came, what I am doing, and where I will go. So I think I love these hill stations for that.
Beautiful. I had asked you this question about your elementary school, and we're going to meet somebody. Let's go and meet somebody from your elementary school, and let's hear what they say about you.
Myself, Professor Indu Vishankar. I am holding the chair of Head of the Department Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery in SCV Dental College and SCV Medical College, Cuttack, Odisha. I take this privilege of speaking something about one of my childhood and closest friend, Professor P.C. Mahapatra, who needs no introduction from my side at least, when the world knows him. I knew P.C. Mahapatra, Purna, popularly known as, in 1969 when I entered PR High School, a district level school in Odisha, in class 9th. In those days, communication was a problem, and I was shifted from a school almost 450 kilometers from the eastern side to the western side. And those days, there was a little language problem as well, and there was regional problems. But when I entered the school, I was greeted beyond my expectation. And Purna Mahapatra was one of them. Everybody was interested, somebody new has come from 500 kilometers away. And I also observed, because you pick up friends, people are very choosy also those days. You can never get friends as you like and all. I observed him, a student, a small height, with a lot of hairs on his head. Now he has lost many. And always smiling and accepted to all. That's a uniquity of him, because I also during my 1 year of school days, I had difference of opinions, like the schoolmates quarrel and all. I also quarreled with people, but I have never seen Purna quarreling with anybody or fixed to a group. He was acceptable to one and all.
And Dr. Mahapatra, there's so much which I myself have come to know, and one thing which I have always realized, that to do something in life, you need to connect with somebody who is beyond us. In fact, that's something beautiful about life. And on this note, we are going to take a quick break. We are having this beautiful program, an unwitnessed discussion with Dr. P.C. Mahapatra. We will be back very quickly. Please don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm your host, Dr. Sunil Jindal, and the first episode of Unwitnessed Fame, and in conversation with Dr. P.C. Mahapatra. Sir, it's very interesting, but a beautiful question which I've always wanted to ask you is, and which I do not know. What did you think when you were young that you'll grow up to become?
Well, growing up, I think everybody has an ambition for that. And initially, I wanted to become a doctor. And while in the medical profession during the undergraduate, I wanted to become a gynecologist. Now I'm very satisfied. I'm proud of becoming a gynecologist for that also. I don't know whether I have grown up or grown down, but I'm running with the current and doing my job. That's all.
Fantastic. Do you have any hidden talents or some surprising things which people call hobbies?
Well, as far as hidden, nothing is hidden on me. Everything, my page, my whole life is open. I don't want to make it secret and hidden for that. Everything is known to everybody for that.
Any favorite extracurricular activity which you've had?
Well, extracurricular activities, particularly the teaching is my passion and treatment is my compassion. Apart from it, as I already told that I go outside for hill stations to realize what I am, to realize myself and introspect myself.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's something which I would like to ask you what is the most unbelievable thing which has ever happened to you?
Well, that is by choice or chance, I don't know. But one of the unbelievable things that I love my profession most. I give a preference to my profession and I'm married to a gynecologist. My only daughter is a gynecologist. And my son-in-law is also a gynecologist. I think I have a family of gynecologists. That is an unbelievable thing which I have proved. And believe me, quoting an anonymous statement that you have 3 blunders in life. First blunder, to become a doctor. Second blunder, to have a spouse as a doctor. The third blunder, to have a progeny as a doctor. But I have done all the 3. Along with that, I have a 4th blunder. My son-in-law is also a gynecologist. The 4th blunder I have made it.
Sir, shall I add to it? My mother was a gynecologist. My wife is a gynecologist. Incidentally, my daughter has just joined MD gynecology.
Oh, good.
3 generations of gynecology in the family. And just like you jokingly said, it's a blunder, but I think it's a blessing.
Yeah,
3 generations could take
I do admit, I'm proud of that.
Yeah, so it's so beautiful, sir. And another beautiful question which I thought I'll ask you is, everybody has a role model, everybody has a mentor. You have been a mentor to so many people. Who is your role model or your mentor?
See, the role model and a mentor, I have divided into personal role model, personal as well as the professional. My professional role model are my teachers, are my patients, and my students. And my personal mentor is my parents, whom I love, and Swami Vivekananda is another person who has really become a role model for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
My mother is illiterate, but he's very, very witty and visionary. He always advises me that you have become a doctor, you are in a medical profession and become a gynecologist. You help everybody without expecting anything from anybody. I think that is the best form of advice I remember till today. You go on helping everybody and without expecting anything from anybody for that. I think that's really paid me.
I could never have asked this question for you, but I ask this question for you now. The last 3 years have changed this world. COVID has shown us a different way of our experience with ourselves. I'd really like to know from you, where have these 2 years of COVID taken you and what have you understood?
Well, I understand one thing, that we show that we are superpower, we are very powerful, we are very money, we are great, we are successful. But what one microorganism can change the whole thing? The power of a microorganism, and that believes that it's a realization of life. The realization of life, COVID has taught us, everybody. And I remember on this realization of life, Aldous Huxley, one of the greatest medical philosopher, has told, 100% of the people, those who are born in this world, realize life. But the paradox is that 99.9% realize life at the deathbed. Those 0.1%, those who realize life long before deathbed, they can change, they can be a game changer in every spheres of life. I think that has the greatest lesson I have learned with the COVID time. And I always advise them that the fear epidemic is more than the COVID epidemic or a COVID pandemic. And at this point of time, again, I reiterate, just can't avoid medical profession in the name of COVID. And believe me, during the whole of the 2.5 years, there is never lockdown in my clinic, excepting 17 days when our asymptomatic COVID positive and admitted to a hospital. At that time, the home confinement is not there. You have to admit in the hospital, the initial phase. Because I believed that if I do not open my clinic, there are more number of COVID, non-COVID deaths. So that is the thing which I have maintained in my life. And with the COVID, we know that many things are not known till today also. I also preach one thing, don't have a fear epidemic. Let it be any wave some going on. Have two vaccines. One is a medical vaccine, another is a social vaccine. Medical vaccine is giving a priority and social vaccine is a must. The rest, everything we know that social distancing, COVID appropriate behavior, these are all simply baat hota hai. I think that is the thing we have learned from this COVID, and we go ahead and march ahead with that.
It's beautiful. Fantastic, fantastic. सर आपके बारे में एक बात कहूं जो मैं मुझे बहुत डीपली फील होती है आज के दिन. मतलब मैं आपसे मेरी मुलाकात आपसे क्लोजली करीब 5-6 साल पहले ही हुई एंड शायद 7 साल पहले. पर आपके बारे में एक चीज फील करता हूं. But I'll say it in Urdu because that's a language which, or Hindi, which I love and I feel in. So I would like to just say कि आपके लिए सर कि अभी तो असली मंजिल पाना बाकी है. अभी तो इरादों का इम्तिहान बाकी है. अभी तो तोली है मुट्ठी भर जमीन, अभी तोलना ये आसमान बाकी है. तो आपके बारे में सर मुझे हर बार यही महसूस होता है that people would say Dr. P.C. Mahapatra has lived a great life. Oh. But what I really feel is Dr. P.C. Mahapatra has the next chapter to write. In fact, sir, Meryl Streep, when she received an Oscar, you know, one day what she said on the Oscar stage, she said, it's not a question of what all has been written in my book. It's a question on what I need to write in the empty pages.
Good. Absolutely clear.
And this is the beauty about what I always feel when I meet you, when I talk to you.
Thank you.
Sir, would like to have a rapid fire round with you. And it is questions which I'm going to shoot at you. And you need to just answer what comes to your mind. I mean, you don't get times to think. And you answer them in 3 words, 4 words, 5 words. But it's got to be very short, a single sentence. And they're impromptu. And these are what I need to ask you. So my first question is my biggest regret.
I don't regret in my life because I'm a satisfied soul as a teacher and a gynecologist.
What am I chasing?
I'm chasing to give others. What I've got it, I want to give to others.
My advice to doctors.
My advice to doctors will be work is your strength, service is your security, and blending of tech versus touch, blending of hard work and smart work. I think this will fulfill your own professional as well as your personal life, and how to bridge between life and work.
Wow. What is your source of inspiration?
My source of inspiration are my parents, my teachers, my patients and my students.
What is your biggest lesson in life?
Biggest lesson, I think I give a priority to learn from mistakes. And we learn from mistakes and admit that mistake if you have done something.
What is success to you?
I believe that you should be a man of value rather than a man of success.
Wow, this is beautiful. And your obsession is?
Obsession is a teaching.
And the last question I'm going to ask you What is your religion?
I believe in a human religion.
Beautiful. So your rapid round, you have received the prize for the rapid round, sir.
Thank
It
you.
is so beautiful because everything has been answered so authentically, like the human being that you are. And it really has been a pleasure, a privilege, an honor to interview you. Because you know what I really realize is, and interviewing is connecting with the human being at a deeper level to get the best out of him. And I don't know whether I have got the best out of you or better is still there, but it's better than the best at the moment, what we have received. Thank you very much for being there.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you, sir. And on this note, we'll like to take a leave. And till we connect again, take good care of yourself. Keep smiling. And you know what? Let this fame be witnessed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.